Purdue, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you just fine. Let me clear out this music real quick. Okay, and I will add us to the main screen here.
All right, thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Great, how about you?
I'm doing well. What's on your mind?
Well, Sleuth, I just wanted to thank you for setting the standard about what this case is really about. And watching other creators, you are the gold standard for, here again, what this case is about. And it's raising awareness and keeping the focus on the case for Abby and Libby, for them to get justice. But at the same time, it's proactivity and learning on how to be preventative, that this doesn't happen to our children, and looking at it from kind of a case study on lessons we can learn from this, and that the world is unsafe. And we have to teach our children you cannot trust anybody you don't personally know on the internet. And here again, I applaud you for not engaging with the trolls and getting all caught up in that. And at the same time, you are doing this here again for education, prevention, and raising awareness. And that's what it's all about. We won't be able to solve the case on a hearsay that someone has said, that someone else has said. The only person that's going to be able to convict is the prosecutor based on the evidence, which we don't have. We don't have all the evidence. And so I think so many people get caught up in the hearsay, somebody said this and told me this, and I know this, and you don't know this, and I talked to this. That's not going to solve the case. That's not going to convict the murderer. And thank goodness Libby took the video she took, because we do know somebody that had the means and the opportunity to do this crime. But that's really what little information we do have for sure that's been shared with us.
Thankfully.
Yes, thankfully. And we know Libby and Abby obviously they're innocent and they didn't deserve this, but what lessons can we learn as parents and parents of teenagers here again to hopefully mitigate the risk and prevent this from happening to our children, at the same time educate our children in the school system. But anyway, I just wanted to call and and tell you thank you for the way you conduct yourself, the way you provide us information and education on your channels. And here again, it's to be proactive and preventative at the same time, raising awareness. And you do all of that so well. So thank you so much.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. In regards to the prevention and bringing attention, the truth is, I consider myself a strong person. I'm just not Anna Williams strong. I'm not Carrie Timmons strong. I'm not Becky Patty strong. I can't see. I get shaky thinking about it because I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Not 1 second of it.
Agree. Agree.
So thank you for those words.
Absolutely.
How was your Labor Day weekend?
Oh, it was relaxing, which was great. So we didn't, we did the traditional things on barbecuing and getting together with some friends, but just very relaxing and kind of laid back.
Well, you
How
look
about you?
amazing. You look amazing, and you look
Oh,
healthy, and that's all you can really ask for. That's, you know,
yes.
I'm doing great.
It's every day is a gift. Well, I've been rained on this morning, so I almost wanted to turn my video off because I went out this morning and ran errands, and it's raining here. I got rained on. Don't have any eye makeup on or anything. I just put a little lipstick on, but here again, I thought it was important that I come on and share with you my thoughts. I thought about them all last night, thinking, here again, I just really appreciate what you're doing. What you are doing is making a difference. And also, I'll just say doxing is zero tolerance for doxing, no
Gross.
excuses, none. And the people that have done that to you, I agree with you. One time, shame on you. Two times, shame on me. Don't ever
Hmm.
trust them again. And you can't afford to ever to, not that you trusted them before, but I mean they burned you once.
Some I
And
did. Some I did make a mistake. You have great instincts, but sometimes you ignore them,
yeah,
but you learn.
yeah, yeah, your gestalt is very powerful. And the German word for gut instinct, it's very powerful. And you have to listen to it, most definitely. So
I agree
yeah,
100%.
yeah. So anyway, and I enjoy being part of the Sleuthers, and I think I'm not the best moderator. I try to make people feel welcome, but Dee is fabulous on getting those links. And I mean, I told Dee the other day, I said, I'm a Dee wannabe for moderator, that someday I can be as good a moderator as she is. She does a great job for you as well.
She is really good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're asking, sorry, for some reason my StreamYard's not pulling up people's names when they place them in. So I'm just going to put your name right there. They keep asking.
Okay. And they're like, who is she?
Yeah, this is Purdue. She's been a great source of information here in our chat, and just an overall pleasure to have around. So Purdue RN is the name she goes by here, and we appreciate having her around.
All right. Thanks, Lou.
You have a great day.
You too.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.
Bye.
Wow. It's always the unexpected live streams that I have when I get these types of gifts. So we are off to a good start. I don't have a whole lot. I just know there's been kind of like a lot of chaos going on. And it's so easy to get yourself pulled back into some kind of weird drama, like tornado. But you got to recenter yourself and keep moving forward. But I don't want to run away from anybody that has questions, because I don't know what to do with my channel. It's grown so fast. I've only had it for a year and it's already unmanageable. So I just want to make sure I have no expertise. I'm not a very smart person. I consider myself quick, resourceful, able, and willing to learn. But I am by far a professional. but I am great with solving problems, avoiding problems, seeing problems coming. So, I mean, we all have our use, we're all useful in some way. Question is, are you leaning towards um, those tools, or are you trying to be something that you're not? So, anybody who would like to call in, I know it's going to be hard to follow Purdue, but everybody is welcome to call in. Otherwise, I just plan on hanging out in the chat and answering questions that I might have the answers to. But one thing I'm good at is directing people to who will have the answer for you. There you go. Rebecca Jacobs hit it right on the head. You are level-headed. I like to think so. Because if you notice, everything has an extreme one way or the other. Closer to the center of things you are, I think the better. Because it's in human nature, to follow the mob or to be persuaded by those around us, even when we know something to be factual. We will doubt ourselves. We will then doubt our doubts and then react to those doubts. And then that's when the real trouble happens. When you start thinking about things in your head, you're like, well, I'll correct it by doing this, correct it by doing that. And then boom, you're even in a more bigger pickle. So I always say, if you're in a pickle, just don't be too hard on yourself. Like, don't judge yourself. We're all going to stumble and fall. That seems to be something that's helped me in life. Thank you, Wanda. It's always good to see you around. No. Marsh B says, Sleuth, any further updates from the river search? No, not that I know of. I've been checking to see. It seems to be split in 3 different groups. You got the group that thinks it's unrelated, but an active search. You have a group that thinks that it's a training operation. And then you have the group that thinks it's tied to the double homicide of Abby and Libby over in Delphi. I'm part of that group more. I'm more in that group than I am in the training, only because if it was a training operation, this seems like something they would be very proud of. Seems very extensive, seems organized. It's been in the media, so they would have been questioned about it. So if it's a training exercise, why not just say that? But then it could be 2 things at once, right? It could be a training exercise, but they're trying to use their trainees in a way that might be beneficial. Maybe they received a tip at one point or another that there was a weapon, or maybe they're just using their training. Like, hey, there's potentially the weapon is here. Maybe it was dumped in the backyard of a Klein or something like that. And over almost 6 years, it made its way over there. And maybe that's what these crash recreation guys are trying to let them know, is like how the movement of time and erosion and all what might be going on under the water, or what might take place over time. I can't find anything about that. So I look every morning, I look every evening, because usually you want to look when the mainstream media is active. They're out there looking for stories. They got all their people out there. And I also heard, I think that Becky Patty went down there and took some photos. So, I mean, if you got victims' family members down there and you're not telling us what's going on, then it must be hush, hush. Bossy says that's almost 2 miles downstream, though, but possible. That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. I guarantee all the people that are down there have knowledge on what might be going on over a 6-year span on a metallic heavy, maybe a plastic with some small pieces of metal, like a cell phone. Like, only they can kind of give us an idea of what might be going on. In my mind, if you throw like a large bladed weapon, it's just going to sink. And then all of the debris is going to casually flow over it. But then again, you got to think these rivers flood. There's all these huge logs. So these logs are spinning around through the water. They could be flipping up the phone or the knife or whatever it is that they're looking for. They could be flipping it up. It could be getting wedged. It could be traveling, down the river. So I just don't know. I think it would take some type of educating to know that kind of stuff. And I think that's the people that are down there. T-Bone, what's up, man? Why would KK be willing to talk about the Delphi case if he is involved? For money on his chirping device? Wouldn't his lawyer have a fit? Not trying to offend him, but just pick up things like that. Well, the way I look at that, T-Bone, is I haven't really seen Keegan Klein active on his chirp until all this stuff started. It was kind of like a domino effect. You had the Murder Sheet podcast, the group, come out with the marathon information. So boom, to me, it all started there. So that's why I felt this was all real, because there was a leak there. And usually you don't have leaks unless you have something to leak, so there's action going on. It all started with the marathon information. So that could have been leaked by whoever provided the information. Maybe that was law enforcement's verifying information. You got to tell me something that would let me know that you have inside information that nobody else knows. Oh, well, I know that we stopped at the Marathon gas station. Okay. And they're like, well, oh shit, Keegan Klein searched the Marathon gas station. Okay. This is a legit tip. Okay. Well, I just want you guys to know there's a knife and a cell phone, that was, I heard was thrown over the bridge in such and such area. Okay. Boom. They call in Keegan Klein. They're like, hey, this, or he's the one providing the information and now he has a deal. So that might indicate why he has more freedom and why he's chirping and doing all this, because he's making a deal. And we know that's been going on for some time now. So maybe he made a deal. He has certain freedoms that have been given to him, or, maybe certain freedoms that were originally taken away are now given back to him. I don't know. All I know is that there's court documents that state that he's negotiating. Sometimes if you're negotiating, you ask for things, right? That's how a negotiation works. You give and you take, you compromise. What are you going to do for me so I in return do for you? Quid pro quo. DFN Goat says supposedly they found what they were looking for in the Wabash River, and there should be some big movement in the next few days. I hope so. I would love to report on that. I just don't have that feeling that yet, that something's solid. But my eyes and my ears are open. Bossy, you're saying you're seeing vehicles out there day and night? I'm not sure if he covered his face. I'm not sure yet. The more and more I look at it, it appears like maybe he just has something that's moving. He's trying to cover his face. Like he had something like very thick, maybe tied around. That way, if he bent his head down, he could kind of just hide behind it. But if he lifts his head up, now it's exposed. So I don't know if his face is covered with something tight, kind of trying to cover all the way up to his nose. I'm not sure. I mean, the video is just so bad, but it's looking definitely almost like whatever that white thing is on his chest might be part of where he has it tied. So he might just have like a hoodie tied around his neck and then trying to hide behind it. But honestly, you might catch that in 5 or 6 frames. Go to the other 5 or 6 frames, something completely different. You got a guy that has a straight build cap and maybe a bandana tied underneath it, and he's got a very slim face. You go another 5, 6 frames, you got an old man with a mustache and a cigar, and you go another few frames and it's a guy with a cigarette or chewing tobacco and he's spitting. So I mean, it's very tough. That's why Doug Carter doesn't want you really looking at the face. He wants you kind of seeing how the guy walks. Angela says, where did everyone get that BG does not have blue eyes? Well, apparently early on there was a witness that said, I got somewhat of a good look at him, but something was going on with what she was seeing, where she could see the eyes, but she just knew that they weren't blue. So to me, that might mean like a gray or a greenish brown, maybe. And I think that came from Kim Riley early on during some pressers where he was like, she just knows. And he's like, well, they just know that the person didn't have blue eyes. So this law enforcement provided that information. They didn't provide the dog walking part, but I'm assuming that's the same person or rumors extended from that. DFN Goat said they did a reenactment with the surveyor tool to identify exactly where it was thrown from on the bridge and etc. Yeah, I'm assuming the way, if it was thrown here in 2017, where is it now? Yep. Supposedly an eyewitness, and I'm assuming, well, Jill Moser explained that the same person who potentially is the dog lady who said no blue eyes, she is not. I always thought she was part of the older sketch, but according to Jill, she's not. They just went with the older sketch. So they had multiple sketches, and she may have been the only person to see this specific guy. But I mean, to me, that would be the most important, considering where she saw him on the south end of the bridge, like off the property, basically trespassing. Well, they obviously took it seriously. They held that sketch. It was completed probably the same time all of the sketches were completed. They may the older looking sketch they may have built on it, but the whole time apparently they had the younger sketch just kind of sitting there, And of course they're looking at all the evidence. It's not like they threw it in a folder or something and they're not following up on it. But I think there was just more leaning towards this other sketch. But it could be two people. We could have a young and an old. Because I know some of the witnesses apparently saw an older looking guy, but his face covered. So maybe he wasn't old. Maybe he just had druggy looking eyes. Older folks, they get kind of like squinched eyes, and sometimes they're not always like a little bit bloodshot. That's just from being grinded down by the world. Yeah, Weber's neighbor, I believe. Kelsey said no blue eyes as well. Yeah. And the thing about Keegan Klein, too, and why I would never discount that he is the guy on the bridge, I don't think that he is, but I wouldn't discount it. But he's a young person that has an older look. You know what I mean? Like he didn't really take care of himself. If you look at that photo that was from 2017 with him and his old neighbor, I guess, AKA friend one, he was only like, what, 20, 21 in that photo? And he could have passed for 30, 35 easy. You're not supposed to have a dad bod at age 21. But I think somebody was also asking about CD putting out a video where it was his first live stream, and we were talking about the new Keegan Klein information. And I mean, he hit it on the head, right from the get go. Like, that's what I'm trying to remind people. All of us, including Graz, like we all talked. We used to have live streams together, and we all talk like, yeah, this is most likely the person, or he's connected to it. But to me, that doesn't mean you get complacent. You got to keep sleuthing. It's not over yet until somebody is convicted of the murder. I mean, you don't know, because so many of these cold cases, they don't find the killer, but what they're left with is, oh, we were pretty sure that was the guy. To me, that's like points at corruption and stuff. It would be easy to frame a Keegan Klein, especially if you're in law enforcement. Think about it. Your job is to catch cybercrime, but behind closed doors, you're a sadistic maniac. But here, you go home, you get into your sadistic shit, and then you go back to your work and you put on your mask, and you're searching through your cybercrime stuff, you're following leads. Boom, there's Keegan Klein. Your sadistic side starts saying, I'm going to frame this guy and I'm going to get away with it. So in the back of my mind, and this comes from listening to the FBI, watching documentaries on serial killers, how they caught them, what serial killers, the information they provided on why they're killing, how they kill, what might start killing, or a lot of them they'll try to stop, and then something might make them kill again. So, all right, let me catch up on chat before I keep rambling here. It's getting ridiculous. I'm not familiar with Kelsey ever saying it, but I don't doubt that that's true. Yeah, I don't believe Kay was the witness. It was one of her neighbors. I think Kay was actually in Arizona at the time, and she was interviewed in Arizona. And then her son, who lives there, he can come and go as he wants, is my understanding. But he showed up after the bodies were found around 3:30. Soon as whatever time he got off from his job at Subaru, came back and was like, what the hell's going on? They questioned him. He was extremely cooperative. I think they didn't even need to serve a search warrant, but they were allowed to search the property, if I'm not mistaken. Because the owner of the home was interviewed by the FBI in Arizona. George asks, DFN Goat, hey, have you heard there's going to be an announcement in the coming days? And that is a great question, because I can't find anything. I'm looking, on Google. I'm looking at Twitter a lot, following some of these pages on the mainstream media. I'm looking at some of the Facebook pages. And usually Becky's pretty good about updating stuff, but I think she might be in the dark too if there's anything going on. Because I remember in the New Direction presser, they weren't advised until a few hours prior. All right. William says, I seen another program that BG was on the south side of the bridge, passed the girls, then turned around and followed them. That's when Abby said, that creepy guy's behind me, isn't he? And that's very possible. That goes with the first witness's account, if we understand it correctly, that he was just kind of lingering on that end. But I'm not sure. And I've gone over that theory a couple times, and the reason people think that is because of some of the evidence points to that. Libby took those 2 Snapchat photos. She actually took photos of each end of the bridge, and on each one of those photos, I believe they were 10 minutes, 5 minutes apart. and you don't see anybody on the south end, and you don't see anybody on the north end. So they're assuming if that was taken at 2:07 and the audio was or the video that captured the audio was taken at 2:13, that's a very short gap in time. And those photos you can kind of see for a distance. So I'm not saying that she couldn't have snapped the photo and then a minute or two later, here comes Bridge Guy walking from the north side. It just doesn't appear that way. You can kind of see a lot further. So it leads people to believe that, but it's just a theory. We don't know. Hopefully we'll know soon. DFN Goat says there's also speculation that whatever was in the river relates to TT, which is the country club road guy, which why they picked him up on the old DUI warrant. And law enforcement does that. They'll pick you up on something just so that they can hold you. And depending on what state, I think it's 48 to 70 something hours. That way you don't go running off. Yep. Yeah, Chucky, I agree with you. It's okay to take a break. And if you see me covering other cases, it's because I just need a break from this case. And it's hard to ignore all the weird stuff that goes on. And even with this recent sexting stuff that's been going on, you get pulled into that. So sometimes you get lost, but then you got to come right back, jump back on the freeway. Hey, Babs. Thank you. Yeah, we're just hanging out. I'm going to have the internet all to myself here for about another hour. So figured I'd do an early live stream, catch some of my people on the other side of the planet. It's not fair just because we're on different time zones and different sides of the world. So hopefully I caught some of you guys over there in the UK and Australia and over on that side. Teresa says, I never pay attention to people in passing, Purdue, especially eye color. Only if a person brings attention to themselves, I pay no attention. Well, sometimes I get weird vibes about people, and then boom, I'm focused on them. And then sure enough, they do something fucking stupid. But yeah, eye color. The thing about this witness is, after talking, if what Julie Melvin was saying, she's basically lives right over there, and she knows a lot of the people that live in Delphi, some family included. She said that this guy was suspicious, so she may have tried to take a closer look, but I think sometimes in the light, eyes look different. Like mine are very hazel, light hazel in the light, but in a dark room, they're just really dark brown. And I notice some people's eyes kind of have a greenish color when the light's hitting them. Yeah, CD hit it right on the head. And believe me, I was listening to what CD was talking about. It's just unfortunate that Unroyal had to be part of that live stream, considering the things he's done since. It's awful. Holy crap. Chucky says, my daughter almost got kidnapped when she was younger. They just caught the guy sodomizing a child under 12. And I mean, how can you stop it? Like the recent story, the lady that was jogging and the guy pulled up freaking hitman style, made sure to drop the phone. Like this was completely planned out. Even if she had a gun, I don't think she could have stopped that attack. I mean, it was just so unexpected and so quick and brazen. I mean, that could have been a small statured man. Forget, the whole missing blonde woman thing or white woman. What do they call it? Missing white woman syndrome. Come on, man. That's terrifying as hell. Sorry about the noise. I think my wife just hit the garage door. Makes my dogs go nuts. Oops. And my phone's dead. She was probably texting me about breakfast. Damn it. Yeah, she knows what to get me. All right. DFN says, George, at your previous question, supposedly there should be an announcement regarding a change in KK status, whether it's a deal they reach or if they possibly put him into a witness section. Again, that's pure speculation right now. Yeah, Miss Thang, me too. I mean, you got to ask, why was Keegan Klein, if the whole marathon thing is real, why are you at Country Club Road with this guy logged into his Wi-Fi, or the same house anyway? Could be pure speculation. I mean, it doesn't mean this person's connected at all. You know what I mean? But it does seem very strange. It definitely pulls him right into the mix, in my opinion. Yep, Marlo. Kay was in Arizona. That's why Brad Weber was checking on the house. And I think I think he was halfway living there. I think he always does. And that's according to what I seen on his Facebook. He has a very public Facebook, does a lot of fishing. But yeah, he basically talks about it's like a second home, I guess. Hey, Jill. Jill would know. Jill's actually cousins. Who is it with the whole family, with Kay and Brad? Well, that's perfect timing, Jill. If you have a question about that, I'm sure she'll help answer it. She's very helpful. Yeah, I mean, it's invaluable, George. Okay, so there's Y. How you doing? Says, I saw Kelsey talk about hair and eye color in the interview. Yeah, we don't know what timeline's going on. We have no clue. It could be very strange. It could include two different people bursting. He's like, hey, the left and the right. You don't see what's going on the left. You don't see what's going on the right. So, I mean, they have all kinds of information. I'm sure they're applauding our efforts. Like, hey, some of you are kind of close, but they got to keep certain things to themselves. I mean, think about it. Evansdale had two false confessions, two separate unrelated false confessions. They also had two separate incidences of people going back to the crime scene and sticking knives into trees right where they were found. And that's these sick people, these wife Lilith and these people that are into the dark stuff, or what was his name? What the hell was that guy's name? He was threatening somebody on Facebook saying he was the real killer. I have his information somewhere. Skullbuster, I think is the guy's name. Well, was his moniker anyway. Yeah, but he basically came on and was like, "I'm the real killer. I still have the knife," and he was threatening to kill kids of somebody who was part of my Facebook group. Facebook group doesn't exist anymore, but it was kind of like a false confession. I guarantee law enforcement when interviewed the guy. Yeah, in the transcript, he says something. They ask him like, "Oh, what are you driving now?" And he's like, "Oh, old Trans Am." I know he could have meant like what we're driving or what vehicle we have, but yeah, I agree with that, William. Yeah, that's what me, Fig, and a lot of other people are trying to warn people. Um, Circumstantial evidence, like I said, a lot of these cold cases will end with people saying, "Well, we pretty much know who the guy is," but without having like a real conviction or something. And the truth is, the same way a lot of you were thinking Keegan Klein when the murder sheet put out his transcript, a lot of people, as soon as the Ron Logan affidavit was put out, they're like, "Oh, you see, I knew. Okay, it's not Keegan, it's Ron Logan." It's because the information and law enforcement that is writing out these documents are trying to sell this. They are trying to gain further momentum or go further in their case, and they're manipulating the legal system. And sometimes judges who are needed in this process to complete it are in on it, and they want to further the process along as well. So they're going to disallow it. They don't expect these documents to come out to the public, while the case is still ongoing. But the same way it looks convincing in Keegan Klein's transcript is the same way it was looking convincing with the Ron Logan. So I just don't want people to become complacent and say, "Oh, we got this guy. It's him. It's obviously him and his father. Look, there's two different people talking. FBI says it." The FBI is just trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Or law enforcement, investigators in general. But to be honest, as of right now, it's all circumstantial evidence. And if you're able to convict somebody in your mind, that's not the same thing as law enforcement convicting somebody in a real courtroom. And you got to ask yourself, who was the judge and jury in that courtroom? You were. It's a little biased courtroom to be in. Good to see you, Vanessa. Mandy Manning, hello, says, "Hey, Deb, how's everyone doing? The last thing I saw was the river search. And then I thought I saw someone might have gotten arrested. I seen this just strolling around, so I figured I would got to." Yeah, there's been a lot of strange coincidences, Mandy. You had the friend one who was released on an ankle monitor. You had friend two who was associated with Country Club Road, brought in on a warrant. You have KK apparently sexting with social media and content creators, so to speak. Yeah, but I'm thinking To me, it's different. I think of, searching for gold, panning gold. I don't know if you've ever done that. Like when you pan the gold, you move all the stuff around, but the heavy gold stays at the bottom. And that's kind of what I'm thinking when I think of like a metal knife, a hatchet, or not necessarily a phone because it's flat and the water could lift it up, even if it was flowing somewhat fast. But I think of panning gold. The blade maybe they already found the blade and they're looking for something else. So maybe that's the one piece that they have and they're just, trying to do their best. Maybe it's enough to go on, but they know the other piece is there somewhere. So they called in the crash recreation group to kind of help guide them, where to search, like what could have happened and what could have taken place since 2017, if that's, when the items were dropped there. So that part makes sense to me. D, will you do me a favor and get Broken Pinky Promise out of there? I'm not going to do that anymore. Or anybody, whoever's quickest. Michelle says, cool. Thanks for doing the live at this time, Sleuth. Even though it's 1:30 a.m. here, I am keen for more Delphi info. You're welcome. Hey, Lesbian says, thanks, D. Glad to be part of the channel. I agree with what Purdue says. Don't let the bastards get you down. This is all about the girls. Yeah, that theory makes sense to me. It's like, who is this guy? And maybe he was a creep. Maybe he was casing Weber's place, I don't know. Maybe she left a note on the door that said, hey, leave, we're out. We're snowbirds. We'll be out of town. Leave all packages under such and such, So if you got somebody lurking around, maybe some hobo who just got off the train there and was just exploring. It was winter. People get desperate in the winter. Maybe saw a note, maybe saw indication that they weren't there. People in the Midwest do weird stuff. You got to do stuff with your pipes. You got to, like there's all this weird stuff you got to do. So maybe there's indicators that somebody might be away, or maybe this person knew they were away. But maybe he was lurking down there. The witness, she who saw the eyes, potentially Kay's neighbor. According to Julie Melvin, says that it was a darker looking person. So I don't know. Maybe Bridge Guy was just lingering there, saw the girls, walked past the girls, looked around like, damn, there really is nobody around. Then came back and said, well, down the hill. And maybe all the strange shit that they saw, the signatures and weird stuff, maybe he had already had a camp down there. Maybe he already had, because if there's a strange thing that you can see on the RTV6 chopper, it's like between the cemetery and supposedly where the girls were found. And there's this large like white object, and it almost looks like either a forensic tent or a tarp. And there's some movement over there by that tarp. So it's possible whoever it was had a camp set up out there. I don't know. I'm not going to discount anything right now because we don't have anything solid. But what about Keegan Klein? Well, yes, he's in prison right now. If it's him, then they'll continue to get him. You don't need to sext him. That's what I'm thinking, Teresa. Teresa says, the lesbian historian, they could have arrested him long ago on that warrant. So to me, it's not a coincidence. but it could be. Hey, Ophelia. Yes, I have seen that. Anna Lisette says, Julie Melvin said the woman with her dog really looked into the man's eyes, but the woman also described the man as thin and kind of small. Yeah, and that's more like friend one. So, I mean, we could be looking at an ambush. What's the motivation, though? Keep somebody quiet? I don't know. Maybe these guys were all strung out on drugs. And say a drug dealer, so to speak, had motivation to have this done. Hey, I'll give you guys a shit ton of whatever this is here if you go do this. So to a drug addict who's going through loops over hills and mountains to get his shit, all he's got to do is kill 2 young girls and you're going to give me all this stuff? To an addict, things are skewed at that point. Your motivation is definitely something you don't understand until you're in that situation. Because I would never understand how somebody could just sell all their own shit, steal from their family, only to end up in prison. And then when they come out clean and they tell you why they did it, they're like, you'll never understand until you're there. Lakeside, hey, good to see you. Sleuth, I think KK is giving the police bullshit, and the search is a wild goose hunt, unfortunately. Yeah, killers in the past have done that. They promise new information only to get out of their jail cell, get like some fast food and have some conversation, take a ride in a car, But the thing about Keegan Klein is it doesn't seem like he's gonna spend his life in prison the way we thought he should. If you have child porn with a 3-year-old on it and there's penetration and stuff like that, there's nothing worse. So for him to be in possession of something like that and then to get some type of plea deal without providing us any justice in the Delphi case, man, that'll make you nauseous just thinking about it. Thin, small, and dark. Yeah, that sounds like friend one. That's a good question, Kathy. Could the search in the water be for the McClurkin case? My thing is, if it's for any case, why are they not talking? Or no, let me flip that around. I think the reason they're not talking is it because in regards to some type of case. It has to do with some case. What case that is, I don't know. But we have to remember it was the Murder Sheet podcast, their source, who's providing the information. So it's not like we're following any law enforcement. So all you hypocrites out there that are like, oh, we're following Murder Sheet, they only provide factual information. Okay. You gave us all a hard time. Don't be a hypocrite. We are now following information from an unknown source provided by podcasters. Now, the thing about the Murder Sheet is they have a credible record. Their rap sheet is good. So we're more inclined to believe what they're saying. I feel the same way, but still, it's an unknown source coming from podcasters. The same thing these people are out there telling us to avoid. But while keeping awareness alive, we have to speculate. We have to discuss, we have to talk, we have to figure things out. We have to get away from the rumor mill. We have to discover what items came from the rumor mill. We got to flip up the foot and see if it says made at the rumor mill. Yes. Hey, Zooter. Yeah. What's the motivation? Did the girl see TK? Did he? Kagan was good at being a catfish. He's like, I'm never going to see these girls. This is as good as it's going to get for me. You know, I'm going to get what I can and then I'm going to move on. But if you got another weirdo next to you while you're doing all this weird stuff, all right, okay, I'll do it myself. So she's blocked. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah, the motivation. Okay, so there was a lot of stuff in the transcript about Skype. And what I'm thinking is these pedophiles, what they do is they do like what Keegan Klein's doing. He goes out there catfishing, and then sends them over to the Skype. And then they film it from a separate device that's not on the Skype. And then they delete the Skype. So I'm thinking that while Kagan was trying to catfish Libby's friend, he's like, "Hey, do you have any friends? You got any friends over there with you? Yeah, my friend Libby's over here. Oh, well, such and such, would like to talk to her or whatever." And maybe she discovered that the Anthony Shots was really these creepy catfish guys later that night. And maybe they hatched a plan to expose him. Don't know the whole junior detectives theories, but it's possible that they seen him or discovered who he was. And he's like, shit, man, I can't go to jail. Like, I'm already a felon. I already have a record. Like, I'd go probably away for life if they find out I'm messing around with these kids and soliciting nude photos and stuff like that. So I could see that theory going and that being the motivation to hire these creepy drug dealer types and low lives that you surround yourself with when you live that lifestyle. Maybe could have been motivated by keeping a secret and then motivating others with drugs and money to complete the murder. It's not far-fetched. Trust me, when I was young and running around on the streets and doing all that shit, more than one time I've seen people offer drugs for a murder. And I'm talking 13, 14 years old at the time. And you got an older person walk into the room and say, hey, I'll give you this, or I'll give you small amounts of cash. Like when you're young, when you're 14 and somebody says, hey, I'll give you $5,000, that sounds like a lot of money. That's a good question, Lee. I haven't found any. Just a weird voicemail, something about 10 years in Alaska or some shit. Let's see. What was Honolulu asking? Are you guys still talking about TT? Honolulu, it's not unknown. It was a DUI warrant. And I received that information who actually has the documents for that, has access to all that shit. Yeah, D. Lilith is gone. She's here, but if she's not going to answer questions directly, and she can message me back on Reddit because I left her a message there. But if she's not going to answer questions, she's just going to say things like, oh, the marathon information's fake. She's just promoting a narrative without providing us with any useful information. Sounds a lot like the whole sexting debacle. If you want to do a squid pro row, as Austin Powers puts it, squid pro row, that's a different story. If you want to tell me that the marathon information is all fake and then tell me where you heard that information or why you believe that, then we can talk. Wanda from Missouri says, "Who is friend two? I knew friend one is in Nevada. All these initials are hard to keep up with." Friend two, to me, in my opinion, is TT, and that's related to the Country Club Road information. Basically, Keegan's alibi. Teresa, I saw that. Sleuth, I saw a screenshot of Anna posted at 3:39. Yes, I saw that on Joe Lewis, but you don't know what time frame that's in. You don't know. Yeah, that's not. There's nothing solid about that. Like, you don't know when that's posted. You don't know if it's doctored. You don't know. Yeah, it just, to me, that was meaningless. Yeah, so, and it could even be somebody viewing the comment that's in a different time zone. You know what I mean? Yeah, maybe they didn't plan to, or maybe they originally did, but canceled that. They're like, oh man, we're getting catfished. But I'm telling you, this could be completely unrelated to Keegan Klein. Everybody says follow the information that's in the transcript, follow the evidence. But if anything, we know now that the information can be skewed. Look, once again, look how many people are convinced now that Ron Logan is responsible for this crime. Because when you listen to the law enforcement and they're leaning towards a narrative, they basically become salesmen. Like, I got to sell this information. How do I sell it? Sometimes I guess you got to skew it. Like, oh, and you don't really even have to skew it. You just stay away from the information that doesn't help. That's what salesmen do. They tell you to pay attention to the facts while ignoring other key facts. And I just don't want to be responsible for that. I don't want to be looking at this as a cold case and saying, well, we think we know who the guy is. Like, how pathetic would that be? And then in the meantime, 5 years from now, Keegan Klein's got his plea deal. He's probably going to be out in 6 years or something, 10 years. And he's going to live the rest of his life with people thinking he had something to do with this crime, when in fact, people just became complacent and it was circumstantial. Yeah, and somewhere in there's some lies. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be revolving around that whole ski mask incident. So if there's anything strange going on, it definitely involves that. Marv was freaking out last night on our show. Yeah, I heard she was setting the record straight. You can't come on YouTube and threaten people. Like, just because you disagree with somebody's opinion. I'm just a guy who literally came into his office, turned on some green screen camera lights, and popped on camera. That's it. The only thing different between me and you guys right now is I just have a camera that's on me, and you guys are able to see me as I talk. But you're here, you're typing, we're communicating. What gives somebody else the right to threaten children and I'm going to come kill you? You're selling for clicks and all this stuff. Well, the reason that you use YouTube or this platform to gain attention are the clicks, you dummy. When people click on your video, they can't become aware until they click on it and see what's on the video, right? Man, sometimes I really think these people are really insane. Yeah, I mean, I hope so. There's a lot of coincidence going on. Keeping my head my ear to the track there. Yes, happy 5 months. Yeah, see, digital Teresa, that screenshot is based on the time zone of the person who took the screenshot. Yeah. I mean, that video is ridiculous. I don't follow that channel. Like, yes, every investigator is going to consider the family, friends, and close neighbors, of course. But if anybody's going to be seen by law enforcement, it'll be those people. I think we're here more for awareness and maybe catching subtleties. But I'm not here to say who's guilty, who's not guilty. But if something looks really suspicious to me, yeah, we're going to talk about it. But I think it's lazy to not at least look past what law enforcement is easily looking at on a daily basis. They're covering that. Those people aren't going anywhere. They're not fleeing town. They're not, well, Keegan Klein's case, he did actually flee. So yeah, that's another suspicious part of all of this. So I'm probably going to hang out another 15 minutes, guys. So if there's anything you want to talk about, anybody wants to call in, let me go ahead and post this link. We had a great call from Purdue, who is very lovely to speak with, and I appreciate having her in the chat. Very knowledgeable in more areas than just the case. True Crime Scotsman. Hey, you're welcome. Ophelia says, be skeptical of everything, but you don't want to be a skeptic. Yes, Jill, how's everything going? Have you had a chance to go over there and talk with Kay recently about any of the updates? Or because I mean, they got stuck snap dab in the middle of all this, just like Ron Logan did, pretty much. Hey, what's up, Turbo? I like that name, Turbo Havoc. Cautious of underscores now, though. Yeah, nobody's been cleared. Nobody. Well, I'm sure like Mike Patty, Kelsey, all those people that were originally would, of course, be looked at first. I'm sure they've all been cleared. I'm sure Anna's been cleared. She was at work. I think if anybody hasn't been cleared, it might be like a boyfriend, maybe an ex-boyfriend. You know, maybe somebody just like on the outskirts of the family, like a neighbor. And also, I know that some of the psychologists will say that, and the FBI in their, I can't remember who wrote the book on it. We'll come back to that. But it was a bulletin. And basically, they say that a lot of serial killers, they get enraged when somebody else is taking credit for a crime. So this could be something to draw out the killer. You know, piss them off by making everybody think that Keegan Klein or Ron Logan or somebody had something to do with this, when in fact, you know, this person wants to scream at the top of a mountain like, no, that was me. Like, you guys are talking about me. I did that. I didn't go through all that trouble just for Keegan Klein and his dad to take credit. Yeah, Miss Thang says KK's lawyer may use all this drama and contact with others to turn it into some twisted sympathetic character in the courtroom. That's my worry. That would never happen. That's why law enforcement's keeping certain pieces of information close, because they want all the speculation. Doug Carter says it in an interview. He says, I like this speculation, but what I'm not going to do is tell you why we're doing what we're doing. But yes, the speculation is great. It's because we don't know shit. And they like that. It's good for the case that we don't know shit. You just don't understand. And I don't understand. This case was like, man, it could have been anybody. Just like that recent case where that lady was abducted. Man, that scared me. You can't even go out and be healthy. Take care of yourself. Like, she was building her future right there. People that stay in shape like that, they're trying to build longevity. Oh no, D. I booted her. If she wants to come back, she can message me on Reddit, and we can have a quid pro quo. Otherwise, I'm not going to entertain that shit. Stick and carrot. Perry says law enforcement definitely upping the ante. Stick and carrot being used on potential suspects. Yeah. And if that is the case, good for them. Keep it going. Don't stop coming up with ways to get this guy out of the dark. Anna says we don't know if any object was tossed into the river over 5 years ago or more recently. We also don't know 100% that the search has to do with Delphi. To go even further, we also don't know if Keegan Klein has anything to do with the murder at all. But when you start looking at misleading transcripts and misleading approach by law enforcement and anonymous sources from trusted podcasters, this could be all very dangerous if you're one moment you're taking all factual information and then the very next you're not. That's why it's easier just to take it all. Take all the information, everything, even the weirdos, whatever they're saying. Consider it all. But just make a good decision. All right. So we're going to finish up chat for about another 5 minutes, and then I'm going to get out of here. Got people logging into the Wi-Fi. They're going to be on meetings all day. I don't have any until later in the day. So I can't hog up all this bandwidth. So for the next 5 minutes, we'll jump in chat. Turn off all call-ins. So if you plan to call in, please don't. I don't want to have to kick you out of here. And then we'll just hang for a bit. And if you have any questions or you're watching this on a replay, just shoot me a comment or a question. If I don't have the answer, I'll try to find it, okay? Is someone, Mike Thomas says, Sleuth, they said a few times that their source is someone close to the investigation. That can only be so many people. I think it's safe to assume their source is law enforcement. Well, I don't know, Mike. Their source is anonymous. You know, it's dangerous. Their source could be Julie Melvin. Their source could be somebody we don't know, somebody that's blowing smoke. That's why people are so against anonymous sources. But they're not going to say that to Murder Sheet, you know, because they like the fact that they feel the case is close to being solved. It makes them feel comfortable. They're like, yes, finally, some closure on this damn case. But the truth is, this thing is wide open. Yep, Perry. Well, we don't know. She says she never seen Keegan Klein face to face. She just knows that she went to meet him with a friend and that she got some horrible messages after. So it may have been a good idea to bring that friend. But that may not have been Keegan. Could have been the killer. Thanks, Teresa. I think if Keegan made bail, he'd probably run. William, yes, it does somewhat. You can see it on the map there. The railroad's pretty close. So if you're like a hobo or somebody who wants to ride that train from one city to the other, it'd be very easy to. Yeah, Chopper, that could be true. But I also know a lot of these incel types. They'll go meet the person that they're catfishing and they'll say, hey, I've been catfishing you. And they're like, what? Really? And then they ask them, like, why don't you like me? Like, I was the one talking. Well, the reason I don't like you now is because you catfished me. You know, you're a liar and a manipulator. And then the person gets... some of these videos I've seen on these incels are they get angry. Like they get mad because they can't find anybody, but they're just so crazy in their brain. That's why they can't find people. They're just out of their mind. And they get extremely mad. Some become violent. So that could be motivation there as well. Hey, what's up, Sloopy? Yep, that's a motivation there, selling it. In one of the affidavits, it talks, it seems like they think it was filmed or something. And that might be the reason for the staging. Just don't know. Yeah, that could be good motivation there. I think once we find the motivation, that's going to help us kind of figure things out. And I'm sure law enforcement already knows. Doug Carter said multiple times, like, I know what happened here. We know exactly what happened here. And he never said he didn't know the why. I've never heard Doug Carter say, I don't know the motivation. So that's a good point right there. All right, guys, I'm going to get out of here now. Get my day started. I haven't even had my coffee yet. Bounced out of the shower and came right on. Try to take advantage of the internet here. But I'll see you guys later. Maybe we'll do some insomnia stuff tonight if I'm not passed out. Take care.